Welcome to the HAYVN Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders, owners, and professionals are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Hear from industry experts on everything from marketing, leadership, financing, and more. Brought to you by HAYVN, a co-working space where you can connect, create, and get stuff done.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the HAYVN Hubcast. I'm Nancy Sheed, your host, and I am very excited to be talking to some creative people today. I'd like to welcome to the program Asami Green and Tracy Visceglia. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited.
Yeah, we're both really excited to talk to you about Creative Café.
As Tracy, you just alluded to, we're here to learn more about the Creative Café that you all are the co-collaborators, creatives and gurus behind at HAYVN. But before we do that, I would love to kind of talk to each of you individually and hear like what your background is and how the creative through line is bringing us together today. Asami, prior to the Creative Café, what did you tell people you do for a living, or how did you get to be doing what you're doing?
I am an intuitive life artist and Reiki master. I actually currently host the same Visions of Healing, which I will be doing next week at the Creative Café throughout 5 locations in Fairfield and New Haven County. And when I joined HAYVN last year in January as a part of my New Year's intentions to share my knowledge and to share how wonderful art is and can be a part of your healing journey in so many different ways. I sell my fine art, and I also use the art making process as a form of healing, like sort of like a mindful art. That is what I will be doing next week.
Very exciting. So I'm going to read the Visions of Healing. It sounds like that's your method or your protocol or your way of sharing what you do and helping others heal or grow or get more out of what they're trying to get out of. How wonderful. And Tracy, how do you describe it when I say, so Tracy, what do you do for a living? Or Tracy, what brought you here?
Yeah, there's actually 3 parts of what I do. I'm a full-time public school teacher. I have a background in both general education and art education. So currently a 3rd grade teacher, I'll be entering my 39th year of public school teaching this September.
Wow.
I'm also, I know I can't help but want to make the joke, right? Like, and I don't look a day over.
I was going to say that, but I was going to say you were teaching when you were 4?
Yeah. I'm also a fine artist, and I've been, like to say, playing with art materials my whole life. So I consider myself a public school teacher, an artist, and an art teacher, because when I do not retire, but retire from full-time public school teaching in 2025, I plan to return to my roots as an educator and really explore art teaching for children and adults in settings outside the classroom. So that's how I explain the 3, parts of my background in a nutshell.
I love it. And I can see the Venn diagram of how you all kind of overlap and complement each other. Before diving into the cafe, I just have to say, if I'm thinking about art, creativity, and artists, when you both say fine artist, I'm like, oh, they're fancy. Oh, like they sell their works for loads of money and they're very fancy and they don't talk to people. But then when you both explain that you're teachers and you have workshops and you love teaching, you make it sound so much more engaging and approachable and less intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share that? Because I feel like not everybody does that. Like a lot of people want to be fine artists and they want to be fine artists. And a lot of people want to teach art and they want to teach art. They don't consider themselves fine artists. So walk through like both sides of that coin, if you don't mind. I'll start with you, Tracy.
Okay, great. Yeah, no, it's so interesting that you say that, because I love the fact that you picked up on the fact I don't consider myself a fine artist with a capital F and a capital A in the connotation that is. So like I say, I've been playing with art materials my whole life. And yes, I am an artist, but being an artist means being really kind of being human, actually. So I think that everybody is an artist. Some of us use fine arts materials. Some of us are dancers. Some of us use words. Some people, if you're a plumber, you use a wrench. If you're anything, if you're a human, you're creative. And so that's why I am no different than any other person who comes into the Creative Cafe, whether they're an illustrator or an artist like Asami and a healer like Asami, or whether there's somebody who says, I'm not creative, but I'm coming because I met you in Asami, and I think that you women, you ladies are fun and creative and unintimidating. So that's it also. We're not taking this so seriously in the sense that it's play. So that's how I just answer your question.
Nice. And Asami, you've got the healing component, which I think is you've integrated the art into the healing component. But when you say you're a fine artist, how does that gel alongside of your other sort of specialties and how you approach the world?
I actually recently decided not to call myself fine artist.
Okay.
But instead to call myself life artist.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay. I really resonate with that, like purity. And I feel art is everything. Everything we do, we see, we feel in our life and around us. The more I really started to focus on like the colors, the textures, the emotions or the feelings that I'm going through at that very moment. And instead of verbalizing it, I tend to pick up a blank canvas and start splashing colors on canvases. I love using different mixed media. And I've also started to incorporate crystals into my paintings. Everything that I can try, like incorporate into my art that directly comes from nature, to me, it's very important. And with my healing background, most people, when they see my art, some message is sort of like conveying between the canvas and their own heart or their mind and thoughts. And most often, it's sort of like even just looking at art becomes a healing process for them. And art has always been a way for me to heal my life challenges. And I want others to understand that art is not something scary or pricey or anything like that. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but to incorporate art making, the process of art making is something that can help others like wake up something that may have been sleeping within themselves. And that if you're happy with what you create, that's what it all matters in art.
I've got so many questions. So I'm curious, and we might be getting either philosophical or teasing out words. We've been talking about the word art and artistry. Everybody's an artist. Can we use art and artistry synonymous with creative and creativity? Or is there something different? Like, does it have to get to a certain level to be art? Or do you use those words interchangeably? I'm just kind of curious because I know, I just heard one of you say, I'm not an artist, right? Like, I say things like, I used to be so creative, right? And I'm coming around to saying, I'm being creative in different ways. How do you kind of reconcile those two words, or do you see them as synonymous? Asami, I'll start back with you in terms of that. We just talked about the art word.
I think art is just one part of being creative, the world of creativity. So I always try to explain how art doesn't mean like the canvas painting or the watercolors. It could be in the form of music, writing, acting, dancing, even cooking. It's something that you enjoy creating. It's something that brings joy to your heart. And that's how I see art as a part of creativity.
And Tracy, is there a difference for you in terms of those two words or how you approach it, or is one more approachable for people than the others between creativity and art?
Oh, I mean, I love what Asami just said. As Asami's talking, I'm like taking notes and so often Asami
Me
and
too.
both get so excited. And even though we both have specific and, like you said, Venn diagram, different perspectives and backgrounds, there is so much synergy about how we feel about creativity. But Asami said, art is something that you create that brings you joy. I really agree with that. And so the whole point of the Creative Café is play. It's not formal. When we had our first Creative Cafe that we launched last week together, that was so successful, were a whole bunch, in this case, all women. It doesn't have to only be women. The HAYVN community is predominantly women, but not all women. And we were laughing and we were drawing and we were sipping a little because it was a sketch and sip. But, it's interesting. I actually said afterwards, I really noticed that we were sipping a little bit, but we were so involved in our conversation and our creative play with art materials that we were like, we didn't even really sip that often, which it doesn't matter here. No one's keeping track. But the point being, I actually brought blocks. I brought blocks to this first sketch and sip because I wanted to convey the idea that this is about play.
Mm.
And another thing that I think all three of us has mentioned as we've been chatting, that it's uncovering and unblocking. So when you talk about unblocking writer's block or uncovering creativity, it's that Picasso quote, every child is an artist. The problem is to how to remain an artist when you grow up. So it's that idea that it's just letting go and letting loose in a non-pretentious, non-serious way. It's very much more process-centered than product-centered.
Making notes as you said that. But let's back up. You introduced the Creative Café. It's a little physical space that's kind of in the same building as HAYVN. Yeah. You all are you in creating these creative cafes or kind of monthly gatherings to play? Maybe you set a tone, like it's not always the exact same vibe, but can you talk about what is the invitation you offer in terms of getting a fantastic group in to unlock, be creative and play? What's the promise and what are they drawn to and what do they get out of it?
It just happened so coincidentally. And I think it was just one of those like synchronicity where both of us were given this opportunity to start leading and hosting Creative Café starting this summer. And we wanted to our main focus is to create community for creative minds and come and have fun, share stories, share some maybe tips about being creative and support and nurture each other through things that we create and through things that we have experienced, but have fun with it. For me, I want to tell everybody, go back to your childhood memories of when you are learning how to color or when you first start to paint, and it's okay to go beyond the line. It's okay to be coloring way beyond the lines, but to create something that really makes you happy.
And Tracy, you mentioned the paint and sip. I know prior to that, Asami, you've also had, I think there's been textures and fabrics, there's painting, I feel like you've brought in all sorts of different modes and models. Tracy, can you share some examples?
Yeah, I would just there is a structure to the schedule, but it is also a structure with a lot of play in it. So
awesome.
It will be a bi-monthly event, or there are 2 bi-monthly cafe sessions, one midday that, generally speaking, Asami will be hosting the midday Creative Cafe. So people come in sort of lunchtime and take that creative break. I will also be hosting once a month, a 4 to 7 time slot. That way people can stop by at the end of their day to kind of afford both of those opportunities for people to take a pause, to take a breath, and to come and play, whether it's to give a little energy to the middle of their day or to unwind and let go at the end of their day playfully. So that's sort of the structure. And Asami will be hosting her Visions of Healing style creative cafes, right now, mine will be sketch and sips with different prompts, not always the same prompt. So when we hosted the last one, it was a sketch and sip. And I did give a prompt that we all enjoyed and created some amazing drawings. It's so interesting. When you say we're going to focus on process, you wind up getting a lot of really cool products too. So we did it with drawing. And right now, the first few creative cafes will largely be Asami and I bringing something to the table, so to speak. And then we also are really eager to invite other artists from the HAYVN community to come in, whether a writer, a musician, a visual artist, life artist, to come in and be the collaborative co-host. So just like Asami mentioned, it's a nurturing atmosphere, a non-intimidating, nurturing atmosphere. We really want to create in community. And we are facilitators. That's another thing. In this context, although I'm an art teacher, I don't call myself an art teacher at Creative Café. I call myself a facilitator because it's very peer-based. Once we come in together, I'm creating side by side. And you might come in, Nancy, and play with us one day and say, hey, I just came from a writing workshop. You might add something that puts a twist on what we thought we were going to do that day. So it's really that sense of collaborative creation in community.
I love it. I love it. And I also want to just sort of call out again, back to what we said, sort of in the vein of everybody being creative. This isn't a nice to have at this day and age, right? Like in the post-pandemic grounding world of being productive and what are we doing? I think what's imperative is A, that you're offering this, but B, educating people that this isn't something that's an extra. This isn't something, this is in the sphere of this might actually help you do your other job or be a better human or this is part of that, whether you want to call it self-care or a well-blended life. I don't think enough of us value that because, again, we grew up, the ego took over. We were told we weren't creative or we weren't artistic. So we leave that to the professionals. And I think you guys bringing it into this idea of play and create and let go is so huge for what it unlocks in bigger ways. It's not a linear process, but it's not a nice to have. It's something like, I don't have time for a massage. I'm like, well, that's your choice. But, I don't have time to work out. But I think this creative play part is as important as those other things that people consider self-care, right?
Yes.
Could you maybe share some examples that you've witnessed where somebody kind of came in and took that play and how it maybe transformed another part of their life? I just think this is critical to make this, for people to understand that this goes beyond what happens in those 2 to 3 hour workshops with you all.
I think most often, as you also have mentioned, we forget to take care of ourselves and we forget to give ourselves a little time to have fun or take a rest, take a break. And I think that's very important to keep us balanced between your family, your work, and for yourself. I think it's very important to nurture yourself and give yourself time for self-reflection and growth and plenty of rest and plenty of fun. And what I've seen in the past workshop is most participants is, oh my gosh, I can't remember the last time I had so much fun. Just picking up. I usually start with creating mandala. Like mandala represents wholeness and it represents your life. And I just give them just a plain old circle and then give them color pencils and markers and crayons, whatever they like, to just go ahead and make their own patterns, make their own design, and just come up with their own designs. And during that time, they're just focused on yourself. And you kind of like release the tension within while you're creating. And you're sort of like making a connection between what you have in your heart's desire, and your mind. And you're making that into reality by creating what, like mandalas, or for example, next week we'll be doing vision boards. So we're going to have lots of fun doing that. And I think it's always very important to know exactly what you want in life.
I'm like, wait, how can I get into that workshop? Tracy, I think the other thing I was going to build on that, Asami, you also block out a lot of that ego, right? Like you actually open that connection to, I was going to sound woo-woo, but the soul, and you block out the ego that's telling you the dishes need to be done and your kids at home and you didn't get dinner ready. I think that being able to block out is so important. And it's hard for us to do. The ego doesn't want to be told to shut up. So Tracy, I'm seeing you like lighting up. What's been your experience with that?
Well, it's such great synergy. Like there's so much synergy in this conversation because I love that when you said block out, you said block out ego, which is a total yes. And I resonate so much with what you said, but I was also thinking block out the ego, block in the time. I'm thinking this as an appointment. We make an appointment for so many other things, so many other people's priorities and our priorities to other roles in our life, but we don't often make an appointment for play. So I'm thinking of this, Jules Cameron has this concept of an artist date, which is a little different because that's something you do on your own. But I'm thinking of this as a creative date or a play date that you're making. So when you stop by the Creative Café, whether it's midday with Asami and you're going to get this beautiful, healing, heart-centered experience. And I mean, not that I'm not heart-centered also, certainly, but that's how I would describe Asami as such beautiful energy, and just being around her is like you're getting Reiki, I think, even when she's not giving Reiki, or you're coming to a sketch and sip environment that I'm hosting or facilitating, if it's me hosting. That's an appointment you're making with yourself. You say, you know what? There's a Creative Café, and you can also stop in at the last minute. If you are at work and you know what's going on that day and you didn't register, you can say, hey, you know what? I think there's a Creative Café today. I'm going to put down my work because I need to stretch my legs, and I'm going to go down during lunch instead of eating a sandwich, or bring your sandwich and create with Asami. Or at the end of the day, instead of going home and doing a load of laundry, which might be important, before I do the load of laundry, I'm going to stop by the Creative Café. So that's kind of it, like blocking out the ego, but blocking in an appointment for
the time
with yourself. Yes.
Yeah. It's such a gift I'm so happy we've blocked this time, because I'm kind of feeling lighter just having this conversation with the both of you, excited about the direction that the Creative Café is taking, and thanking you all for your commitment to it. We'll do, I think, is that makes most sense is we'll put the link in the show notes for the Creative Café calendar. And then we'll also just put links for people who want to maybe reach out to either one of you and ask more questions or learn more about your work and your teachings. But thank you for being here, and thank you for coming together to create all of this wonderful HAYVN magic for our community and its members.
Thank you so much, Nancy. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And I feel like, this conversation is adding ideas. It's a three-way synergy here going on. Asami and I have had many conversations that have been a great two-way synergy. So thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you today.
Oh, my pleasure. And Asami, I'm excited for your vision workshop. We'll put the links in there. Thank you for the healing work that you do as well.
Thank you. I can't wait to start sharing more.
Exactly. Thank you for listening. This is another episode of the HAYVN Hubcast. If you like what you hear, please give us a review, a rating, share, and make sure you're a subscriber.
Thanks for listening to the HAYVN Hubcast, a place to learn what business leaders and owners are doing to navigate and grow in today's market. Please leave a review on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. HAYVN is a co-working space and virtual community located in the heart of Fairfield County, Connecticut. HAYVN is a hub for business owners and professionals to connect, create, and get stuff done. Find out more about the HAYVN community online at hayvn.com. That's HAYVN.com. HAYVN Hubcast is produced by Sound Advice Strategies.